What would be different about your life if you can make in a month what you currently make in a year? Now, I remember the first time I had done this. I was still working as an employee, and it was 2016, right after I bought my first franchise, but we weren't open yet, so I was still a W-2 employee. I had started out in the financial services industry. The first job I got, I had a salary of $34,300 a year. Yes, I remember the exact number. But in 2016, I made that in a single month. And the numbers have only gotten bigger. But in this video, I'm gonna show you how you can turn your annual income into your monthly income, whether you're an employee or an entrepreneur. Now, in order to do this, you must understand something called the law of compensation. And you'll probably wanna write this down or take this note somewhere on your phone. I learned this years ago. The law of compensation states that what you earn will always be in the exact ratio to, number one, the need for what you do, number two, your ability to do it, and number three, the difficulty there will be in replacing you. I remember learning this many, many years ago and thinking, okay, great, how can I use this to my benefit? But I do believe that there's one part missing from here. And I figured this out the hard way over the years, and we'll cover it later on in the video because it's probably the most important part. Now, I remember my first year hitting 6 figures in annual income, and I remembered this annual income into monthly income. It always stuck with me, and I thought, there's no way. It sounds so absurd to potentially make $100,000 a month. Here's what's crazier to think about. There are some people where if they only make $100,000 a month, then they're out of business. Their expenses are more than $100,000 a month. But let's dive into the strategies and exactly how you can turn your annual income into your monthly income using this acronym that I learned when I used to work and speak for Tony Robbins. The acronym is SAM, and it stands for strategy, actions, and mindset. If you think about it like this, in terms of turning your annual income into your monthly income, it'll make everything easier. So let's dive into strategy. Now, can you realistically 12x your income in your current work or business? As an example, my first year in corporate America, I got a job as a personal banker. That's when I had a salary of $34,300 a year, not including bonuses, but the bonuses weren't much. Part of the reason they weren't much because I wasn't producing the results to make them much. But in that specific role as a personal banker, it was highly unlikely, if not damn right impossible, that I would make $34,000 a month in that role. Now, Tony Robbins would say, it doesn't matter how pumped up and motivated you are, if you're running east, looking for a sunset, it's not gonna happen. You have the wrong strategy. So for all you brainiacs out there, the sun sets in the west, right? So what's my point? To make $34,000 a month, I needed a different strategy. It simply was not going to happen where I was. So I got a promotion into a financial advisor development program, and I got bumped up to a salary of $50,000 a year. Now, there was also no possible chance for me to make $34,000 a month in that specific role. Finally, fast forward to 2015 where I was a financial advisor. I was in a role where I got paid a percentage of the revenue that I generated for the company. In such a performance-based position, as long as I figured out a way to produce enough revenue for the company, the reality was there were financial advisors, not just in my company, but in the industry as a whole, making $34,000 a month. So I knew it was possible. I knew that was a strategy that could work. And so in 2015, I had my first month making just over $34,000 for the month. So what's the lesson and how does it apply to you? Well, you need to put yourself in a position where you have a strategy and you are in an industry or role where you can make this happen, which means you'll probably need to make a change. Now, some industries are more profitable than others, just plain and simple. There's just more money in some places than there is in others. So some businesses have low profit margins. I own multiple food franchises. Food businesses are known to have low profit margins. So unless my locations were going to do millions of dollars of revenue a year per location, I simply was not going to be able to hit my income goal owning just 2 locations. On the other hand, I learned that there were businesses out there that had much higher profit margins and higher average sales. I actually created a list of 5 low-cost franchises that all make $1 million a year. You can grab that list, the link is in the description below, or you can go to franchiseempire.com/low low cost to grab them. Now, you may not be interested in franchising as a whole, but it'll be interesting to see what those businesses are, how much money they make, what their startup costs are, and maybe you can use it as an idea and inspiration for you to figure out how you're going to 12x your income. But I want you to think about the strategy that could work for you based on your skill sets and experience. Now, seriously, watching these videos are cool and all, but you have to take action. Nothing happens without it. Consuming information is simply not enough. Having now made millions of dollars as an entrepreneur, I look back and realize that it did not need to take me this long. I just didn't have a great strategy. So for you, maybe the strategy is you need to start a business. Maybe it's buy an existing business. Maybe it's to become a consultant. Maybe it's to start selling real estate, to create an online course, start working in a different industry. Here's the best way to approach your strategy. What is a problem that you can solve? Now, ironically, I'm talking to you about turning your annual income into your monthly income, but my advice is don't chase the money, because it's usually harder than you think it is to make it happen. I'm just being real with you. So make a list of problems that you think you can solve based on your skill sets. The options are endless. You'll only be limited to number 2, which is your actions. Having a strategy to 12x your income is not enough. And no matter how much you think about it or how great the idea is, action is the only thing that gets you there. Here's the catch. It's usually stuff that you don't want to do. When I was a financial advisor, I was cold calling and hitting the phones for hours a day if I didn't have appointments. The math was pretty simple. I figured out in order for me to hit my goals, I had to generate a certain number of revenue. In order to generate a certain amount of revenue, that means I had to make a certain amount of presentations and offers for people to become clients. In order to do that, I had to have a certain amount of appointments. In order to have appointments, I had to make a certain amount of calls. I had to take responsibility for my results, and I had to make sure I was taking time to train the bank staff on how to identify potential clients and then teach them what to say and how to say it. So most of the stuff that actually helped me make more money, I did not enjoy doing. Even to this day, a lot of the stuff that creates revenue and results in our business, I don't actually enjoy doing or want to do. There's this myth out there about following your passion, which I think is raw. What I found is even in a business or work you're passionate about, the majority of the work is tedious or boring. Think about professional athletes. A tiny percentage of their time is doing the fun stuff and playing in the game. It takes hours and hours and hours of practice and grinding. You think they want to wake up and practice 2-a-days? You think they want to wake up early in the morning? You think they want to eat healthy and wouldn't prefer to eat something that just tastes better? Think about that. So the other layer to this is Pareto's principle, which is the 80-20 rule, which is that 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. Without relentless, consistent action, you simply will not 12x your income. Early on, when I had 9 failed businesses from the ages of 18 to 27, it was because I chased all the shiny objects and get rich quick schemes. Look, I'm telling you right now that skyrocketing your income comes down from doing you don't want to do day in, day out, and being consistent. One of those is sales and marketing. You must master sales and marketing. The people who make the most money, they're not usually the smartest. They don't have the best product and often don't do the best work. Marketers and salespeople rule the world. This was probably the hardest lesson for me to learn because I've always had a very analytical and operational mind. And what I found is that the analytical people tend to get in their own way, overthinking things. And this was something that I struggled with for a really long time. So you may need to really get out of your comfort zone here, but inevitably you'll reach a point in this where you have the strategy, you're taking action, but it's not working. And that's where number 3 comes into play, which is mindset. Now there's 2 parts to this. The first is that before you accomplish any result or goal, you must experience it mentally first. The results you have in your life, what you see around you, are an effect of what you've been thinking about on a daily basis. So when I was in high school, I wrestled and I sucked overall. I didn't suck. I was decent. I would win half my matches and I would lose half my matches. 20 wins, 20 losses, somewhere around that my freshman and sophomore year in high school. Now the summer going into my junior year in high school, I didn't know what I was doing exactly, but I would just lay in bed and I would imagine myself winning. I would imagine myself winning matches and tournaments and the crowd cheering, and it felt real. And I'd do it over and over and over again right before I'd fall asleep. Again, I didn't know what I was doing and the result this was gonna cause. At the time, I just knew it felt good. Get this, the next year, I started the season 24-0, 24 wins, 0 losses. And I wound up finishing that season 47-5. Before we opened our franchise, I would visualize our store packed, a line out the door, telling my wife, we did it. It actually worked. We have a successful business. There are spiritual, biblical, and scientific principles that all prove that our thoughts influence our reality. As you sow, shall you reap. Mark 11:24 says, therefore I tell you, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours. Quantum physics shows that particles exist in various states and can be influenced by observation. Leading sports psychologists, all the way to Navy SEALs and military training, all preach the power of mental rehearsal, otherwise known as visualization. Now, you may have heard of the law of attraction and manifesting. It's all connected. I believe in this 100%. I've experienced too many things in my life that I specifically wrote down and very consciously visualized over and over and over again that eventually happened. Now, it took time and work, but it happened. So one of the most powerful things that you can do is to visualize and imagine yourself turning your annual income into your monthly income in all of your senses. Like, who are you talking to? What are you saying? What are you doing with your money? Where are you visually? What do you hear? What does it look like? What are people saying to you, etc. The second part of this mindset thing is really mental toughness. And before we hit mental toughness though, I told you earlier on about the law of compensation. There were 4 things that were missing. And that 4th thing was your belief that you can actually make this happen, right? You tend to earn in alignment with what you believe you are worth. And so you have to shift your identity and your thinking at the first stage before you actually experience it in real life. This took me years of kind of going back and forth and back and forth. But now let's talk about mental toughness. So as I was starting business after business from the ages of 18 to 27, I would inevitably reach a point where I just felt stuck. I wasn't quite sure what to do next, or I was confused. And so I would just jump ship and move on to my next business idea. Huge mistake. How unstoppable are you? What do you do when you don't feel like it? How do you react when things get hard and you want to quit? What I found to be true is that 80% of your success comes from having an unstoppable and unshakable mindset. Why? Well, although the strategy is important and you need to have an effective strategy, what happens when the strategy doesn't work the first time? When I had a weak mindset, I'd give up or get discouraged or not follow through or be undisciplined. And that is why you'll see really talented or smart people achieve mediocre results, because it's a byproduct of their thinking and lack of resilience. I've met people that are just too dumb to quit. They're just too dumb to quit. They don't know anything else, so they just keep going. They're not that intelligent. They're not that smart. They're not the sharpest tool in the shed, but they think about the end product and they're resilient. But on the other hand, when you have an unstoppable mindset, you will push forward until you find the right strategy. Failure won't stop you, obstacles won't stop you, challenges won't stop you, and this part is really the ultimate hack. Look, guys, if it was easy to 12x your income, everyone would do it. It'll probably be hard as shit. You'll probably want to give up. You'll probably doubt that you can even do it. You'll probably question whether you should work so hard. And that will be the difference between if you do or you don't. So how can you build an unstoppable mindset? You train it just like a muscle. I've done this in a few different ways. One is through exercise. This is one of the best ways to physically experience pushing through and becoming more mentally tough. As an example, I hate running. So I've ran 13 or so Spartan races in the last 3 years to callous my mind, as David Goggins would say, so that I start to train myself to do hard over and over and over and over again. The other way is training your subconscious mind with new beliefs. So I would repeat things over and over again to myself, like, I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I act in spite of fear. I'm bigger than any obstacle. I will always find a way. I literally did this for years. I literally would write these things down over and over and over again. I recorded myself saying it and would play it all night while I slept. Now, some of you may watch this and say, I'm not doing that, or you won't prioritize it and you'll forget. And that's exactly the mindset that will keep you from not turning your annual income into your monthly income. Now, you're probably itching to figure out what business and strategy that you can use to turn your annual income into your monthly income. So in this video, I break down exactly what you need to launch your first $1 million business. This is a hands-on strategic video to help you fast track your path to success. Check it out. And remember to subscribe before you go. Peace.